Bienvenidos, bienvenidas, or as they say locally, ahlen wa sahlen. Today we are in the beautiful reserves outside of Dubai, all sorts of animals. We're going to talk about these beautiful areas, but first this is Latina Literati. Bienvenidas, bienvenidos, bienvenidas, bienvenidos. As we leave the bustling city of Dubai behind, all of a sudden the landscape starts to change. You actually see sand dunes. You actually start to see all sorts of nature. You don't think that the sands will have trees and bushes and all sorts of different plants, but they do. And as we leave the city of Dubai behind, and we go into the natural landscape, one doesn't expect the desert to be so full of plants. There are trees and bushes and all sorts of plants. And as you enter the Al Qudra area, all of a sudden, nature just opens her arms. Thousands of people come to these love lakes to take pictures and walk around, and we had the chance to hike all the way around them. And it was just a beautiful day in the warm sun, but it was really worthwhile, the hike, watching all the birds and the beautiful plant life around us. In the Al Qudra area, you can bicycle. There's an 80-kilometer track that you can do. Families come to picnic along the beautiful watering areas. You can camp. There's areas for camping. And of course, there are camel races. And we'll talk a little bit more about the larger animals of the desert, but I wanted to let you know there's so much. There's really something for everyone in this Al Qudra area. For those who enjoy camping, the night sky is unique in the desert. It just unfolds before you after magnificent sunsets. So highly recommend that if that is something you like to do. In this protected area, you'll also find animals like the Arabian oryx and the desert fox. Really interesting because these animals are going to be the smallest of their species. So for example, you have native to the area the Arabian leopard in the mountains. You have the Arabian fox, and these are the smallest. For example, you have the Arabian wolf. The Arabian wolf is a subspecies of the gray wolf, and it's actually the smallest of all wolves because there's so much heat. When you need to cool a mammalian body, it needs to be small. So you have, of course, the goats. They're called tahir. You have the magnificent gazelles, and of course the oryxes. But the predators, the large predators, are the leopard and the wolf. The leopard they say it's definitely endangered. There's about 50 in the wild left. So they are protected, but it's just magnificent landscape. And of course, at the center of the desert is what they call the ship of the desert, the camel. And the camel is so revered, the camel is so central to desert society, every part of the animal is used. So for example, the tents that the people of the desert in this area use are woven in a felt-like manner from the hair of the camel. The camel, or ship of the desert, is absolutely central, and it's used, of course, for transportation. It is, of course, used for nutrition. It is used for even showing wealth. The more camels you have and the more beautiful they are, the more status you have in the desert societies. The camel is just an animal that they say even the cadence inspired poetry, because if you've ridden a camel on sand, you know that it is silent, but there is a cadence to the way that the camel walks, and it is said that that in and of itself inspired poetry. Central to any well-dressed Emirati man will be his falcon. Falconry is also absolutely central to the culture here. And falcons, by law, for example, if you're going to travel with them, have to travel in at least business class. So there are falcons of all prices, of all sizes and colors, magnificent raptors, wonderful birds, and you can hold them and see them, and there are all sorts of opportunities for that when you visit these areas. Nearby, there's the Al Marmoon Desert Reserve, and there you can get a sense of typical Emirati life, where you see traditional desert living in tents and with the camels, and you can ride a camel and all of that. So there's plenty to do outside of the city, and I think you get a sense of the real Emirati spirit, the real sense of the country once you get outside what has been built in the last over 50 years. The Al Qudra and lake areas are really a combination of man's creativity, of the government's commitment to really fostering the species that are native to this area, and it is a place that will enchant you, and its beauty is just well worth the about hour that it takes to get here, even in the Dubai traffic. But it's well worth it to get out of the city and take a look at the real Emirati landscape. And now on to my favorite part of the video, the book recommendations. So the first book is, of course, Nature Emirati. So it's a book that has beautiful pictures about all of the animals found in this area. Well worth it if it's of interest to you to take a look at the beautiful species that are found here. Surprising amount of species that thrive in the desert environment. The second book that I thought might be of interest is the Emirati Bird Field Guide. As I mentioned, over 170 species use this lake area. Many of them are traveling from Africa to Europe, and it's just fascinating to see large and small birds that come through this oasis and these lakes now. So highly recommend that as well. Thank you so much for joining me on this joint journey, for joining me and for enjoying this little bit of Emirati nature. So we would love you to subscribe to Latina Literati. We would love to hear from you. Have you been to Dubai? What have you seen? What have you liked? What are you reading? We want to hear from you. So thank you so much. And as always, con mucho cariño, mucho salud, mucho amor. Gracias.